We're 42 days away from the trade deadline, and the trajectory of the Yankees season is in a holding pattern. Let's figure out each direction they might take on the trade market this year on today's Locked On Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. This episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. With me, as always, is my producer, Steve Granado. Steve, what's going on today?
Hey, in today's show, of course, we're going to be taking a look at the preview for this upcoming Seattle Mariners series. The Mariners heading out to the Bronx. So 3-game set starting tonight. We're going to talk about the pitching matchups, who's hot, who's cold, who's heating up, everything you need to know before that series starts. Of course, some news about Josh Donaldson as well. He might be retiring, interestingly enough. We got to talk about that a little bit later. But first, Stacey, as the title implicated, trade targets. So this episode had been planned, and then it's now taken a weirder turn. So I want to start this conversation first, Stacey, with what's the philosophy here? It's easy to go and put two teams into two different camps. Are you a buyer or are you a seller? But the Yankees are, like we said, in a holding pattern here. They don't know if they're buyers. They don't know if they're sellers, if I can venture that far. So I think we need to start this with, again, the philosophy that they're going to go with here, or potentially could.
Yeah.
Because the Yankees right now are 6 games over 500, which is good. Obviously very good. The division appears to be out of reach at this point. Things could drastically change, but the way that things are going and the way that the next month or so looks for the Yankees isn't extremely promising. So I took a look at the wild card from last season. The 2022 wild card at the trade deadline last year. In third place, you had Seattle, who they were 6 games over 500. Tampa Bay was in second. They were also 6 games over. They had played 2 more games. And then Toronto was 12 games over in first place. By the end of the season, Tampa Bay finished in third, 10 games over 500. Seattle finished in second, 18 games over 500, and then Toronto ran away 22 games over 500. So, Stacey, I think at this point, the Yankees need to finish by the deadline at least 3 games over for them to have a fighting chance. Would you agree with that assertion?
I would agree with that. I think they need to be above 500. Yeah, I would say by 3 or 4 games. Yeah, it has to look a little better than just 500.
Yeah, I think 500 puts it just a hair too far out of reach,
Mm-hmm.
realistically. Because, you're comparing it from 1 year, but it doesn't seem too out of the reach that could be close to the standings this year as well, considering how strong the AL East is.
Yeah.
So Tampa 10 games over is the last spot in the wild card from last season, which might be somewhere around 8 to 11 games this year, if you had to guess here of where the Yankees might be, or would have to be.
Yeah.
So, Stacey, does that put the Yankees in a buy or sell mode right now? Again, I think we're in a holding pattern, but if you had to kind of project here in the next 40 days, where do you think the Yankees will be come August 1st?
I think no matter what, because they're the Yankees, they would never say that they're sellers. Because they're so stubborn when it comes to that sort of thing, even if it looks like they're not going to make the playoffs, although it's been a while since they haven't made the playoffs, they're so stubborn in their ways that they don't ever want to say that they're going to be selling at the deadline.
Sure. But I mean, what they say or what they don't say, it doesn't necessarily matter. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
They won't say it.
Mm-hmm.
They never will. But will they? It's more in their actions than their words, right?
Right.
So let's look at both camps.
Okay.
Let's look at both. Let's start if they're buyers. Let's go glass half full. Let's say the Yankees are at the deadline 5 games over. Okay? Reachable. Totally reachable at this point. They're clearly going to still need some starting pitching. The guys I've earmarked, Stace, The number one guy on the market is clearly Marcus Stroman. The Cubs, I still think have a chance at winning the Central, but any Stroman talk doesn't seem to really go anywhere with signing an extension, even though he's expressed interest in staying with Chicago. Elsewhere in Chicago, Lucas Giolito. I think a reunion with Jordan Montgomery from St. Louis isn't too far out of the question. And then, of course, Jack Flaherty, who's, not going to help your team a ton at this point, but would be another arm to eat innings. Obviously, the number one is Stroman here, Stace, but can you realistically see the Yankees going after any of these guys?
Stroman doesn't like the Yankees. He doesn't like the front office. There was that whole thing where Brian Cashman said something not so nice about him a few years ago, and he has that chip on his shoulder, which understandably, because I'd feel the same way if someone came out and said something bad about me too. So I think that is completely out of the question. I don't think that's going to happen. I've said it on the show before. I love Lucas Giolito. I think he's great. And, he did pretty well against the Yankees last time out. And he's had a very up and down season, kind of like the White Sox themselves. But he could be a solid addition to the rotation. Montgomery, love Monty. Feel bad that, the Yankees never scored for him. And I felt bad when he got traded away the way he did. And I think that reunion could be a good thing for him. And then, like you said, Flaherty could eat innings. You're not going to expect him to go out there and be a one. You just want him to go out there and kind of save the bullpen and throw maybe 5 or 6 innings.
Yeah, that would obviously be the lowest price tag of all of those.
Yeah.
The Yankees would clearly need some outfield help as well, just considering how many injuries they dealt with. And again, it doesn't seem like he's getting better anytime soon. Cody Bellinger is probably the number one on the market. Ironically enough, is injured at this time. Randal Grichuk from Colorado obviously has some deep experience in the American League East, is swinging very well this season. And, I shouldn't say very well. He's swinging well and is chasing less, and he is walking more, which could be a huge boost to the Yankees, who are dying to just get any sort of offense going.
Yeah.
And I think another one, this isn't necessarily win now, but Brent Rooker from Oakland, potentially. It's just a question of whether Oakland would be willing to move that piece. And obviously Bellinger, the big one here, but can you foresee the Yankees going after any of these guys?
I don't know. I don't think so. I feel
it's
like
a little thin. Outfield help is a little thin.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like they're going to keep doing what they're doing with the options that they have. Honestly, I feel like the pitching is if they go after something at the deadline, I feel like it's going to be pitching, but they need both.
Yeah, they do.
They're just not doing well enough to be able to pull off both. It's not one of those years. So
if the Yankees were to be the buyers here and go all in on 2023, which we expressed yesterday, maybe is not the smartest case, especially at this point in the season. Things could change in the next 40 days.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem likely with Judge not coming back till enter date here.
Well, it's Judge not coming back, and if any of those guys who are already in the lineup can't pick it up, because that's the problem.
Yeah, if Rizzo is not how he was in the first 2 months, and if Stanton stays on this slide, it's pretty much a done deal.
Mm-hmm.
The pieces the Yankees would have to move in order to get these, the teams that are looking to win now or within the next year to 2, maybe 3 within let's put it at the camp of 3 within the next 3 years. They're looking to win.
Yeah.
Oswald Peraza, Trey Sweeney, and Will Warren are just some guys that kind of popped into my mind. Obviously, Oswald's the big piece the Yankees have that they could realistically part ways with, and be okay.
Yes, I agree with those 3, because those are, especially with the way Will Warren is pitching and how fast he's moving through the system. And Trey Sweeney is another one of those guys who's there's a log jam there, and he's one of the odd guys out.
Yeah. And then players to pick for win later, you're looking at 3+ years till contention. Jared Cerna, Brendan Beck, Juan Corella, some arms from the Yankees that are, 4-5 years away potentially from really making an impact. Those are some of the guys. Obviously, the Yankees have a slew of other guys that are, 16, 17, 18, 19, all the way through 25, 26. So, pick your poison on what teams are looking for at that potential time. But again, Peraza is the number one trade piece that I think almost every team would be willing to do something to get if they are looking to sell somebody. Peraza is going to be the first question.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Definitely, 100%. Let us know in the comments section how you're feeling about these. If they're buyers, we're going to step aside and talk about if they're sellers, what the Yankees might end up doing. Who do they have to sell if it's a doomsday scenario? We're going to talk about that in just a second. Drop your questions for Fan Mail Friday. And while you're down there, of course, in there, I guess now you're in there, go to the description of this episode and join our subtext, which is brand new. If you missed that, we talked about it yesterday. You can join an elite group of Yankees fans and be a part of our text chains. All the details are in the episode description. We have a whole video linked in the episode description telling you all about that. You get Fan Mail Friday priority with that subscription. Just check it out down there in the episode description. The Mariners series starts tonight on SiriusXM, so make sure to check that out as well. Coming up, let's talk about if they're sellers and a little bit about Josh Donaldson.
Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. Steve's been using it this season, and he loves it. And if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for you. They have killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, so you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time also has flash deals and last-minute tickets, so it's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, and they even give you images of your seat views so you know what you'll be seeing. With their lowest price guarantee and even event cancellation protection, Game Time is the best place to buy tickets in just a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you're set. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Back now on Locked On Yankees. Hey, coming up on Wednesday, to the everydayers out there, we're going to talk about Carlos Rodon's first rehab appearance, of course. Shocking. I know. Look at the Stace face. Hashtag Stace face. Carlos Rodon pitching for the Somerset Patriots tonight. So we'll talk about how that looked on Wednesday's show. So make sure you hit subscribe and we'll give you all the juicy details on that one. Stace, as promised, if the Yankees are sellers here at the deadline this season, they obviously be going after some prospects, but going back to kind of the philosophy idea, the Yankees got to be looking to win within the next 3 years, right? Like quick turnaround, right? Like it's not like we're looking for 5 years down the line.
Yeah, no, it's the Yankees. They want to try and win quick. At least that's what they always say. Not that they ever do, but that's what they always say. So,
well, you don't want to waste Cole.
Right.
You want to get...
They're wasting Judge.
You don't want to waste Judge. You don't want to waste Cole. Right. Yeah. Those are pretty much non-starters.
Mm-hmm.
You have to win with those guys in their prime right now.
Yeah, that would be just a disaster. An absolute disaster. This would be worse than the drought in the 80s when they didn't make the playoffs, because yes, they had some big time free agents, but that was really George just handing out money to people because he was out of his mind. This is them sort of thoughtfully constructing the team and picking these guys up and making good deals as opposed to horrible ones. And it's still not working out for them. So yeah, it's going to be a win now situation.
When within 3, I think is the legitimate target. More realistically, they would like to say 2.
Right.
In 2 years. So guys that are AAA is what you're targeting, right? You're looking at high AA prospects or high AAA prospects right now to get back. You're obviously looking for outfielders. You're looking for left-handers that are available right now within other systems. So who could the Yankees give up, right? Who are the guys that they'd be willing to part with? The weird thing is the Yankees don't have a ton of big names outside of obviously Peraza, but if they're selling, they're not getting rid of Peraza. Clearly, that doesn't make any sense because he's within the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So out of the bullpen, obviously, is their biggest strength this season, right? I earmarked Wandy Peralta as probably their best trade piece, a legitimate lefty. that is giving them serious innings this season, and a guy that could totally be a setup man for a contending team, right?
Definitely. Yes.
So free agent next season. Clay Holmes has 2 years left this season and next year. I think he could be a 7th inning guy, if not also a setup man, given the right circumstances. And then Tommy Kahnle also has 2 more years. I think all 3 of these guys, don't necessarily mark them all as potential elite closers, especially for a contending team this season, but I put them definitely in the 8th inning camp.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, any team would be boosted by any of those 3 guys.
Yeah. And I think the Yankees probably wouldn't part ways with all 3 of them, but up to 2, I think they'd be willing if it meant they could turn it around to get a big left-handed bat or a big outfielder coming up, right?
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Again, I don't think they give away all 3. Bader, weirdly enough, I think would be a quick flip. It's just he's a free agent after the season. So if you're not contending, adios, right? Gleyber, obviously we talked about. And by the way, Bader, I think, is like the most legitimate offensive option they'd have to flip. Gleyber comes with his downsides, obviously, the rockiness and the lack of sustainable offense, and some of the defensive woes as well. IKF, I think, might be a weird piece, but I don't think you get a ton back.
Right. Yeah. Because he's more like a utility player now.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. If they're looking for a utility guy, again, you don't get a ton out of that, but he's going to be a free agent after in 25. So, what are you really giving up there?
Yeah.
And it also clears the way for Oswaldo to be up with the majors and Oswald, and clear some path for Trey Sweeney here coming in the future. Domingo Germán, I think, is interesting. If he keeps pitching the way he does. He only has 2 years left. Stace, what do you think about parting ways potentially with Domingo Germán?
That would be interesting. That start on Friday was a disaster, but it was his first disaster in a while, so I'll give him a pass on that one.
I feel like the Dodgers could potentially be interested in someone like that.
Yeah, they could be, because they fell into 3rd place after that sweep by San Francisco. A lot of weird things. We keep saying it every day, but a lot of weird things are happening. So a lot of teams are looking for things, which is another problem that the Yankees are going to have. There are a lot of teams bunched up in that middle area that don't know what's going to happen within the next 40 days. So it depends on a lot of other teams too.
And then guys I put in the probably not going anywhere that aren't Josh Donaldson. I have DJ LeMahieu. He has a partial no trade clause as well in his contract. Free agent after 26. Don't think he'd be moving, but just wanted to throw that out there. And then Sevy, I don't think anybody's interested in Severino.
No, poor Sevy, but no.
Yeah, no one's going to take a chance on that one. At least if it's a team that's in a win now mode. Sevy's not going to help the rotation for any contending club, unfortunately.
No.
Let us know. Drop your thoughts on this in the comments section. I know we threw a lot of names out there, but I'm curious to see how Locked On Yankees listeners feel. Stacey, quickly here before we take another breather. Josh Donaldson mulling retirement. This is coming from The Athletic. The Yankees third baseman Josh Donaldson hasn't decided if he'll play in 2024 or if he'll call it a career after the season. Quote, "I don't know. It kind of just depends on how I feel going through this year and this season and all of that, and talking to my family." But that's really, I get asked that from not just you, but from other people. Stacey, your thoughts on these comments from Josh Donaldson?
I will say that I made a joke when I first saw the tweet about this, where it said he wasn't sure if he was going to play baseball in 2024. And I said, is he really playing baseball in 2023? No offense, but I feel bad that he came over, he was doing well before he came over here. And, the first big thing that he did, he walked off against the Red Sox last year on opening day. I mean, yes, it was a dribbler like up the middle, but still it was like a big moment. And it was like, ooh, when something like that happens, you think someone's going to have like a big season or some sort of big contribution to the team. And he just hasn't since he got here. He was good defensively last year. I'll give him that. But offensively, you expect him to have some pop, and he does. He hits his occasional home runs, but they always seem to be garbage time home runs. But I just feel bad that he didn't do as well as he could have here when they brought him over. Seems
like a lot of that potential just got lost. I wanted to ask you too, what you think his lasting legacy will be. Obviously, he's not a Hall of Fame candidate or anything like that.
No.
When I think of Josh Donaldson, and I think about this a lot while I watch baseball, is what am I going to remember about these players and these eras and these teams? When I'm going to think about Josh Donaldson, when I think in 10, 15 years, I'm going to think about his Oakland years, right? That is everything, especially as a fan of the AL West growing up, watching him play as much as I did. I mean, his Oakland years were his years, right? Like those were the years. What is his legacy to you?
I would say his time with the Blue Jays because of the whole AL East thing and seeing him with them, and it always felt like he did something
Yeah.
to annoy us on the other side. AL MVP, the Silver Sluggers, his Viking hairdo that he had when he was with Toronto. But yeah, that's what I think of. Especially 2015, because the 2015 Blue Jays had a lot of promise, and they had all those guys on that team, and Bautista and him, and it just like Tulowitzki and everyone else, and it was just like
it all came together.
Yeah,
that was a great club.
But then it didn't in the playoffs, and it was kind of like a bummer, not for me as an AL East fan, but as a baseball fan, seeing all those guys on that team and seeing it end the way it did. But 2015, good for the Royals. It was good for them.
We'll see. Obviously, he's still got a couple of months here to figure it out in a whole off season. I don't think the Yankees would consider bringing him back, but I feel like he could get a 1-year contract somewhere with a club who is kind of middling, or a minor league contract with a team that is looking for depth.
Sure.
We'll see if he wants to do that. Let us know in the comment section how you're feeling about these comments from Josh Donaldson. Of course, you can drop questions for Fan Mail Friday in our YouTube comments as well. And of course, sign up for our brand new subtext, a brand new text line from Stacy and myself. Details are in the episode description. Join a handful of brand new fans to that. I'm very excited about this. So again, check the episode description for more details on that. Hey, the Mariners are in town. That's coming up tonight on Sirius XM. We're going to talk about that series in just a second. Back now on Locked On Yankees. Stacy, hot, cold, and heating up. We got ourselves a brand new series. Let's start with the good, as we always do. Who is hot?
Tommy Kahnle. Ever since he's come back, he's been pitching really well. He's just, like he comes into the game, you're not worried about anything. He's been great. And
yeah, very impressed with him since coming back from the injured list.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid. You're always afraid when someone comes back from the injured list, and you're just like, and yeah, so far, so good.
Yeah, super impressive. Stacy, who is currently cold?
The offense. About 99.9% of the offense is cold.
Yeah.
Just
save our heating up today, which is
right. But which is Gleyber. Or who is Gleyber? He's been picking things up, but everyone else, they need to pick things up. Otherwise, as we said in the beginning of the show, this is going to be a really long next 40 days.
Yeah, for sure. It totally is going to be a long 40 days. If not a long, 4 months?
Like,
what are we at? 3 months?
40 days when you're a Catholic and you give something up for Lent.
Yeah, you're like, dude, I just want to eat this Kit Kat. Come on.
Yeah. And then it's midnight, the night that it becomes Easter, and you're like,
Exactly. Pitching matchups for the week, this week set, I almost said weekend set. My brain's all over the place. This week set, Tuesday, George Kirby versus Garrett Cole. Stacey Cole is pitching so much better lately. He's had such a better month. George Kirby, last time he faced the Yankees, crushed it, 8 shutout innings on 3 hits and 7 strikeouts. Potentially a good matchup here tonight.
Yeah, although every time we say that, it turns into something else.
No, every time you say that,
it
turns into something else.
I'm not going to say it.
See, I said it, so it will be.
Okay, I'm not going to say it.
Game 2, Wednesday night, Luis Castillo versus
our favorite,
someone who hasn't given up a run all season.
TBD. TBD has been fantastic. He's just he's in the Cy Young running. Just unbelievable what he's been doing.
0.00 whip. So we'll see Luis Castillo go. Of course, he's always this series isn't going to be the easiest thing as far as an offense is concerned here. So don't expect 15-run downpours from the Yankees. Potentially their best chance is Thursday to try and sneak away with a series win. If they can win the opener and then win the finale, I think is going to be their best chances. Brian Wu versus Domingo Germán. I imagine Germán's going to bounce back pretty big.
I would hope so. I would hope so. Let's hope he does, because it was so jarring because he had been pitching so well, and it just was. I mean, it happens every once in a while. That's how baseball is. For some guys, they just cruise and cruise, and then all of a sudden, it's like they crash into a wall, and there was his wall, and hopefully he'll bounce back.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I have faith in Domingo Germán right now. I think he's pitching well. I think his off-speed offerings are looking really good. He's moving east to west. He's moving north to south. He's hitting the corners. Like, there's not much else you could ask from Domingo Germán, save that last start. So I think it'll be a quick correction and against the team that is still trying to figure out their identity this season. So
Right, because one quick note, the Mariners won the other day, but they struck out 18 times as a team. So
That's right.
there is potential to keep that offense at bay if you're pitching well. So we'll see what happens.
Yanks got to score 3. I think that's the mark. Yankees got to score 3 or more.
Guys, just 3. That's all we're asking for, 3.
We'll see. Drop your questions in the comment section, as we always tell you, for Fan Mail Friday. That's coming up on Friday's show. We answer your questions. Of course, if you want Fan Mail Friday priority, a bunch of other great perks as well, you can join our brand new subtext. That's in the episode description, the link for that. It's $4.99 a month, but you have a 14-day free trial, and you get roster information, questions for us. You can pitch segment ideas and show ideas. Again, the episode description has all the details, including a breakdown of everything you need to know about subtext. Again, that Mariners series starts tonight on Sirius XM, as well as the rest of the season. Coming up on Wednesday's show, Carlos Rodon, and of course, Game 1 recap. That's going to do it for today's Locked On Yankees. I'm Steve Corrado.
And I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. We'll see you tomorrow.